Hello, everyone, and welcome to Live Through Jesus Weekly Devotions with Courtney Gilmore. On this episode, Home. God has always wanted to be with us. This is inspired by 1 Kings 6 and 7, the lesson called God Makes His Home with Us. When our kids were 2 and 5, my husband was deployed to another state for a year. And instead of taking his 2 weeks leave and staying home and coming home to be with us, we went there to be with him. And we went on all kinds of adventures and took the kids all different places. And we thought that this would be a great, fun thing for us to do together as a family. And our daughter loved it. But my son, after just a few days, came to me and said, "Mama, I don't want to stay at Daddy's house anymore. I want to go home to my bunk bed." And so even at 2 years old, he could tell, there's something special about home, something very important about being home. And, most of us cannot wander around aimlessly, not having a place to call our own for very long, right? We can't live out of suitcases for all that long, no matter how adventurous the place is that we're at. It doesn't take us long to start longing for home. Because home is not just the place that we find shelter or even stability. It is the place that we are most comfortable. It's where we feel settled. It's the place that we can rest and relax like we can't do any other place, it seems like. This is the place that we belong, the place that we can call our own. I was reminded about this story about my son all those years ago, knowing how special it is to be at home and how difficult it is to wander around, as I've been studying the Israelites and how God had brought them out of Egypt for the express purpose of giving them a place of their own, a home, a permanent home that they were calling the Promised Land. But whenever they didn't trust him enough to go into the land and fight for it, God made them wander around in the wilderness for 40 years. And so they were dwelling in tents, vulnerable, unsettled, with no place to call their own. And at that time, even then, God wanted to live with them. And he told Moses to build a tabernacle, a tent for him, so that he could travel around with the people and be right there in the middle of them all of the time. And after the Israelites went into the Promised Land and took possession of it, it was over 400 years before God ever got his own permanent home. This bothered David a lot because he realized that he had this wonderful, stable place that God had given him, and he wanted to give the same thing back to God. But God said, "You can't do it because you're a man of war, and I want a man of peace to build my permanent resting place." And so he said, "You've done your job. Your job was to make peace for the land, to go and fight for it. And now your son is the one that is going to build my permanent home." And so Solomon did this. He built the temple for the Lord. And when he dedicated it, God's glory so filled the temple that the priests couldn't even minister inside of the temple anymore. But luckily, God's presence dwelling with his people didn't end there. He eventually sent Jesus in the flesh to dwell among the people. He said that his name is Emmanuel, which means God with us. The Word became flesh and dwelt among us, it says in John. And so Jesus came and lived with the people. But once he died, he knew that the people would be alone. And again, he wanted to dwell with his people. And so this is what Jesus told the people just before he died. This is in John 14:16-17. "I, Jesus, will pray to the Father, and he will give you another helper, that he may abide with you forever. He will be the Spirit of truth, whom the world cannot receive because he doesn't see him or know him, but you know him because he dwells with you and he will be in you." And so now our hearts are the temple of the Lord. In 1 Corinthians 3:16, it says, "Do you not know that you are the temple of God and that the Spirit of God dwells in you?" And so his presence now doesn't fill a building, it fills our hearts. How amazing is that? When we invite God to come and make his home with us, then we find ultimate rest and stability and comfort and security. We no longer are alone. We're part of a family. The people of the church, other believers, are our brothers and sisters, and God is our Father. In Ephesians 2:19-22, it says, "Now therefore you are no longer strangers or foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints and members of the household of God, having been built on the foundation of the apostles and prophets, Jesus Christ himself being the chief cornerstone, in whom the whole building, being fitted together, grows into a holy temple in the Lord, in whom you also are being built together for a dwelling place of God in the Spirit." So this is the place that we belong, the place where God is. This is our true home. And when we allow his Spirit to fill us up like he filled the temple with his glory, then we begin to produce his fruits and we begin to flourish. Galatians 5:22-23 says, "The fruits of his Spirit are love, joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law." And so, from the very beginning, God has been coming to make his home with us. From the tent in the wilderness to the temple in Jerusalem to our hearts as believers today. But one day, the dwelling place of God will once again be with his people, but it won't be in tents or temples or even in hearts. We will dwell with him face to face. He isn't going to come and make his home with us. We are going to go and make our home with him. Revelation 21:3-4 says, this is John speaking, says, "I heard a loud voice from heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they will be his people. God himself will be with them, and he will be their God, and God will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There shall be no more death, no more sorrow, no more crying. There shall be no more pain, for the former things have passed away." That is what it'll be like eventually. Every single time that God has come to dwell with his people, the place has become more permanent, more enduring, and more intimate. We will finally get to go and make our home with him in heaven, where our wandering will end and our rest will last forever. Hebrews 4:9-10 says, "There remains therefore a rest for the people of God. For he who has entered his rest has himself also ceased from his works, as God ceased from his." And so one day we will get to go and make our home with God. But until then, if God happens to feel distant in your life, if you feel unsettled, if you feel like something's missing, just something is missing, then invite God into your life. Let him come and make his home with you. Don't just make him a part of your life. Make him your life. Because his presence is going to make all the difference between a house and a home. John 14:23 says, "Jesus answered the people and said, If anyone loves me, he will keep my word, and my Father will love him, and we will come to him, and we will make our home with him." He wants to fill all of the empty places in our lives, just like he filled the temple with his glory. Psalm 107:8-9 says, "For he satisfies the longing soul and fills the hungry soul with goodness." And so I hope that God is making his home with you and you feel that rest and that comfort and that stability, and that he is filling all of the empty places in your soul. And that one day you will be with me in heaven, your sister, who is dwelling with her Father and all of her brothers and sisters. I hope that you will be there with me. If you want to study this full lesson, then you can go to my Live Through Jesus YouTube channel, and you can watch all of the Bible studies there for free, or you can go to LivethruJesus.substack.com, and you can become a free subscriber there, and you can read all of these blog posts or listen to these devotions, or you can become a paid subscriber there for $6 a month or $60 a year, and you can do all of the studies with me. The study that I got this lesson from, and all of the previous studies. And then I'll just email you all of the blog posts and all of the studies as I get them written. You can also join me at Live Through Jesus on all the social media channels, and I will be posting clips from these podcasts and scriptures from there. So that's all I have for now. Thanks, and have a good day.